Hey, welcome to the Cannabis Man podcast. Thanks for clicking on the show. I'm Don Kleppen. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is a show where we try to take a journalistic look at cannabis as several states in the U.S. are legalizing it for recreational and medical purposes, and the sort of patchwork of laws that we've got going, and how it's going to have to be that way until there's some federal movement to either legalize or decriminalize or whatever. Until that happens, it's got to go state by state, and as different states do different things and how their markets differ and, where things move in the future concerning cannabis, that's all very interesting to me. And I try to catalog that, chronicle it here on the Cannabis Man podcast. I also love interviewing guests and bringing those interviews to you. And those guests can be business owners, can be politicians, can be doctors, scientists doing research on cannabis in different forms. Some of them, thankfully, now getting government funding and some real sort of legitimization in order to conduct these studies, and what they're finding out is fascinating. I also love talking to entrepreneurs and people that create cannabis products in different ways. And on this week's episode, I've got a great interview for you with somebody who's doing some excellent work helping people in Illinois and in other states get set up with medical cannabis cards. I know that it's been somewhat intimidating for people. I've talked with a lot of people over the last few months, and there's many people who are very interested in getting their medical cannabis cards, but are somewhat intimidated by the paperwork they have to file and just sort of by the different hoops you kind of got to jump through to get certified with the state of Illinois. And I'm not sure how it is in other states, but I can understand why that process is a little intimidating for some. And my guest today has a business that walks people through it, literally holds your hand, gets you set up with a physician who will consult with you and just kind of talks to you about what your uses for cannabis are, and they get you compliant with all your paperwork and can get you your medical card right away. Of course, we have our news joint wrap and the strain of the week, and a story I'd like to get to that concerns a company that's a multi-state operator, but definitely big here in Illinois, and there's been a kind of shakeup as some high-level employees at that company have departed recently, and a local publication is talking about how that does not bode well. Definitely doesn't seem like things are all bright at this particular company. So all of that and more coming up on this episode. Just want to throw out a reminder, if you haven't already, please leave a rating or review for the show. However you're listening to this, go ahead and hit that like button, 5 stars, whatever it is. Go ahead and throw that on. It really helps me out and makes me look good out there on the internet, where there's plenty of shows for people to spend their time listening to. Also, if you want to leave a question or comment, whether for the show or for a guest we've had on, or even a voicemail for the show that might make it into an episode, just click on the questions or comment link under the show description notes. That's all I've got for you now, and let's get into this 26th episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Here we go. Now that we're into the show properly, I'll share with you my strain of the week. I love starting my days, listener, with cannabis and coffee. Something about that combination just really puts me in a great state of mind, kind of gets the creative juices flowing, and whatever I'm working on feels like it gives me a little boost there. But I've been recording these episodes, at least some parts of them, at night the last few weeks. And so admittedly, my cannabis companion right now is some tequila, Tres Agaves Blanco tequila. And that's what I'm sipping on right now. So cheers to you, whatever time of day it might be, whenever you're listening to this. Cheers either way, and I hope you're doing well out there. And the cannabis strain, as I'm sure you're interested in, is a sativa. which I'm most partial to, and it is the Super Silver Haze strain from Bedford Grow. You may remember Matt Ross of Bedford Grow, Director of Cultivation, whom I interviewed on my first episode of the show. Bedford Grow is an excellent cannabis company. Every experience that I've had with their product, every person I've talked to involved with the company, I have another interview with some other employees there that I'm going to be publishing very soon, and I look forward to sharing it. But I think what their company's doing in terms of their approach to growing and how they keep everything in-house and local, I love their approach to growing cannabis and distributing it, and it shows in their product. Everything that I have tried from them, it is fresh when you crack the seal, it is sticky, it is still, the harvest date is never too far from when I've bought it, and I just love what Bedford Grow is doing. And Super Silver Haze is in that same vein. This sativa effects are reported as creativity, energetic, euphoric, and most people categorize it as a daytime-friendly weed, but also works at night as well, as I'm smoking it right now. Flavors are citrusy, piney, and a bit chemical. The description here, which is at iHeartJane.com, a combination of skunk, northern lights, and haze. This energetic strain smells and tastes of pine, sour citrus, and eucalyptus. Interesting. Creating a menthol-laced, enduring, contented high, which renders the daytime user ready to do anything. I can definitely confirm that. I've been smoking this most of this week, and not at any point have I felt kind of lost in thought, a little foggy, without focus. I haven't really felt that way. This strain definitely, it lends itself to productivity pretty well. And as I said, the energetic creativity that it gives, the euphoria, and it does, to me, this strain smells of pine more than sour citrus, but I do get a little bit of the menthol-laced, what they're talking about on the inhale, and I see that eucalyptus there, too. So if you get the chance, Super Silver Haze from Bedford Grow, if you're partial to sativas, this one is a pleasant daytime high, but anytime high, really, and I'm loving it. So here we go. Cheers. Super Silver Haze. Whoa, just had to wash that one down with a little tequila. Very helpful. And now it's on to the News Joint Wrap. This is a collection of headlines about Illinois cannabis-related news and events brought to you by IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Think of it as the joint you can hit for all your Illinois cannabis news and reviews. And let's start with this. Illinois out-of-state cannabis sales sees a slight September boost. So last month, the figures out of the IDFPR, Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, announced September's recreational sales, and after surpassing $1 billion for 2022 last month, the total cannabis sales in September topped the most monthly sales since July and April of this year during the 4/20 holidays. Total cannabis sales for September reached $130,685,122.59. This was the fourth largest monthly total of the year. This puts Illinois at $1,146,385,238 for the total in 2022 recreational cannabis sales, and the out-of-state residents sales totals for September reached $41,184,007. This is a slight jump from similar monthly totals in March and April. In-state residents totals for September, $89,501,115. That was a bit of a drop from similar totals in March and April. Illinois sold a total of 3,092,880 cannabis items in September. The state's well on its way to topping last year's totals of 1,379,088,278. You can find all the monthly sales for this year, last year, and 2020 at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Illinois monthly medical cannabis sales hit year-long lows. This is an interesting one. The Department of Public Health in the state recently reported that September of this year medical cannabis sales totals continue the trend of mostly consistent monthly medical cannabis sales between $27 million and $31 million. September medical cannabis sales again landed in the lower end at $28,055,726. It's the lowest monthly totals of the year. Jason at Illinois News Joint does note, though, that August monthly total medical sales were likely lower, but haven't been corrected incorrectly calculated for the public because the totals were incorrectly listed on the Medical Cannabis Patient Program's website. Retail sales in September of medical cannabis included $12,978,574 in dry flower and just over $15 million in concentrates and infused products. Licensed medical cannabis dispensaries served just over 63,500 unique patients who purchased 1,118,000 grams of dry cannabis. And Croptober events fill up October calendar. More and more cannabis-friendly events are popping up all around Illinois. Jason making note here in this article about how many of them have gone from inaugurals to annual events, and some have solidified themselves as premier cannabis events in this area. Chicago now hosting 3 to 6 cannabis conferences or symposiums per year. Southern and Central Illinois are adding more cannabis-friendly events as well. At the end of this month, some of these events, which you can find more info about at IllinoisNewsJoint.com, include the Illinois Women in Cannabis Annual Fall Harvest Celebration, Higher Harvest Second Annual Croptoberfest, Koala Glass Pumpkin Bash, Creations Halloween Part, Otto's Nightmare on Elm Street, Homegrown Supplies Croptoberfest, and more. You can find more information about those events at the events page and check out all those articles and more about news of Illinois cannabis at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Listener, my guest today is doing yeoman's work. He is really working very hard and doing some excellent work to help people all across the U.S. in several different states now get set up with their medical cannabis cards in the states that allow them to. He formed Compassionate Clinics of America since about 2017-ish. That company has been moving along the ladder of legal medical cannabis in the U.S. and, as I said, really just kind of helping patients get all the paperwork they need together and get set up with their appropriate cards and all of that. And he's here to speak a little about how he came up with the idea and where his journey brought him to this place regarding cannabis and helping people just improve their quality of life. Listener, please welcome Joe Mazza. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, welcome. How are you, Donald?
I'm great. Thank you again so much for taking the time and jumping on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, me too. Right on. So let's talk about cannabis then. On the site here, it mentions, and the site being mycompassionateclinic.com. Listener, if you want to check this out, but there's a little about section, and I'm just kind of looking at it. Joe, it says here that you were a longtime hockey player, and that cannabis kind of was introduced to you as a way of helping combat some of the results of the injuries that you'd had. Tell us a little about kind of how cannabis came into your life and how you started using it.
Well, yeah, I mean, cannabis has always been, I guess, in the background, not something that I was using medically at the time, but recreationally, and this is pre-legalization, pre-medical program. But in doing a lot of research, I found that I took quite a few bumps and bruises, a lot of bumps to the head, and quite a few concussions throughout my hockey career, and it really has helped me, be able to maintain my focus. Helps me, with the pain that I feel on a day-to-day basis, whether it be my shoulders, my knees, wrists, hands, ankles. It doesn't matter. Whatever the pain is, it is there. And cannabis has been a great success for me, relative to, just kind of that traumatic brain injury and lots of post-concussive syndrome and things like that from just getting knocked around a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've spoken with another former hockey player on the show as well, and he mentioned very similar symptoms as well, post-traumatic brain injury, and how certain trichomes of CBD and some other helping treatments was able to really bring the brain health back. And it's great that you were, it sounds like, able to kind of help yourself in that regard as well. I just think there's so many ways that cannabis can improve people's, quality of life, and things like recovering from trauma, and just dealing with the pain of old injuries and stuff, it seems like cannabis is just a great fit for that. So it makes sense that you were using it in your own life, recreationally and then sort of medicinally. At what point did you sort of think to yourself, this is something that I can bring to others? This is something I got to share with people.
So, yeah, right around the end of 2016, coming into 2017, when the medical program was really launched in Illinois, is really when I decided that, I'm going to leave my career as, working in the travel industry as a tech consultant or as, chief technology officer. Mm-hmm. And I found such great success with medical cannabis that I wanted to share it with everybody. And being fortunate enough, my family had some commercial property, office buildings that had some vacant space. Nice. That allowed us to kind of find the right spot for us. And it was in a medical building. So I went and I started talking to some of the physicians in the building and asking them what they knew about medical cannabis and, do they recommend it? Do they not recommend it? What are their thoughts? And really what I found was that there was no education in modern medicine about the endocannabinoid system, about the entourage effect, just even about cannabis in general.
Right.
And we can thank our lovely government for that. But
as I often do on the show.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, my first bit there was, getting set up, right? Like what do I want the company to look like? What do I want to do? And mm-hmm. I found a physician. So we found a physician that was willing to learn and wanted to give back to patients and help them find better relief outside of the mainstream pharmaceuticals that have way more side effects than that of cannabis. I mean,
right.
What are your side effects of cannabis? You get a little hungry, you get a little tired. I mean,
sleep a great night of sleep, typically.
Exactly. So, so we started with that. We opened up, I think our first day was December 20th, 2017. And,
okay.
The doors just flew open and people were lining up. They wanted help. They wanted an alternative solution. And, that one day, just in the number of people that we helped alone, I saw the potential.
Yeah.
And really took that and started to develop a bigger business plan. Not just my community, but other communities as well.
Sure.
So we slowly began to expand our operation, work with dispensaries, work with cultivators on, trying to get more people into the program that benefited from it, that qualified, that benefited, that would benefit from it. And that has grown into kind of where we are today. So today, we're across 8 or 9 states, continuing to grow. We've got 6, 7 physicians that are all multi-state certified, so they can see patients in any one of the states that we operate in.
Right, which is awesome. And let me say, as you mentioned, you do have multiple states besides just Illinois right now. On the homepage of the website, you've kind of got Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania listed there. And what I'm curious about, which is really exciting, by the way, because you mentioned before when you were going through the story there about how many people were lining up that first day. And I think, anybody who was in Illinois when they rolled out the first initial medical cannabis program, it was, I remember it being kind of a short list of qualifying conditions. And there, of course, with Illinois, there tends to be some, a lot of legal paperwork. There tends to be some, bureaucratic hoops to jump through a little bit with different things. And so I think that it's completely understandable that people were excited about the new prospects of a medicine that could help them and improve their quality of life, but were nervous and apprehensive about going through the medical hoops to jump through to qualify for the state of Illinois.
Absolutely.
And then what you're offering here with Compassionate Clinics of America is just basically holding their hand and helping them through the Illinois bureaucratic part of this to get them registered, to get them legal, and what is needed in terms of information by the state. And, I having gone through the process myself now, I was able to have my consultation with a physician last week. It was a great conversation, just kind of asking me what I use cannabis for, and I, just said what I do, which is it's always helped me sleep, and I have some residual pain issues as well. And just speaking to the physician that who was extremely helpful, and working with the nurse as well, Bobby, I believe. Everybody in that whole experience that I had, Joe, was it was efficient, it was incredibly helpful, and the impetus, the desire that you have to help people with what you're doing, I think I experienced that at every level of this process with the others that I worked with as well. And I just want to say, I think that what you guys are doing is a great service for people, and I think that more people should really be taking advantage of this, because it made my next dispensary visit so pleasant and wonderful. And I just think that this is a benefit that a lot of people, need to be excited about in Illinois and the other states that you guys are available at as well.
I agree 100%. It's not very easy for somebody to kind of figure out where to go or what to do. Yes, the dispensaries have the information and they can help you, and they will help you. But, when it comes down to, holding somebody's hand and really just kind of guiding them through the process, I don't think anybody does it better than we do. I've got a great team of people that, understand our value and they understand our mission, and they really know that, being a compassionate person is in our name and it's in our blood. So, whether it be, somebody needs a few extra minutes to speak about, their symptoms, their conditions, what's bothering them, they have our ears, and we will listen, and we will, do what we can to make sure that, they have, that they find success. We're always available to them. It's not like, you come see, you get certified, and then we disappear off the radar for another 3 years in Illinois.
Right.
We like to follow up with our patients and make sure that they're finding success, so that it's not something that, they have to take the journey alone.
Right.
They've got us there with them, and, there to support them. We've got additional products in our arsenal that we can use to help patients find that kind of sweet spot, right? What's going to work best for them. So those are, those are things that we like to communicate. We're very big on education. Our physicians have all been through lots of cannabis training. They know the products, they know what they're talking about, and they believe in the healing power of cannabis.
Right, and that was my experience as well. The support and the knowledge was absolutely there at every level, and the compassion, as you said too. And what you were talking about, the healing power of cannabis just then, I really want to explore that a little bit with you, because you mentioned something as well about how people, especially that first day when you opened, people were looking for alternatives to some of the pharmaceuticals that maybe they'd been prescribed over the years for different symptoms. And every time I talk with my friends or anybody else in the show or anything about the lobbyists and sort of the efforts that are still there to kind of, maybe keep cannabis a little bit lower on the totem pole. When you look at the business model of pharmaceutical companies, if they can prescribe somebody 20 different pills to address 20 different symptoms, and then some of those pills have some side effects that then maybe they have to prescribe something else to address, and maybe all of those things could be addressed by cannabis, it's not hard to understand why they would be working so hard to keep cannabis kind of out of the mainstream and away from being prescribed people as much as it can help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was just going to say, like, all the especially nowadays with the opioid epidemic around the country, I think the I think there are potentially, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who could benefit from an alternative to some of the harder substances or pharmaceuticals that they get prescribed to deal with things. I think there's a lot of people looking for something just like cannabis.
Right. And it's understanding, and it's not just cannabis, the product, but let's talk about the whole plant itself, right?
Yeah.
Because there's benefits to just the plant itself. Whether you take, whether you start juicing it or making your own topicals or,
sure,
things like that. The plant itself is just a miraculous plant that was in our diet, pretty regularly pre-prohibition. And, you see, once they start to ban these things and, cut them out of our daily life and out of the lives of the animals that are eating the hemp and, all these things, we start to come up with all of these new, I guess, conditions, right? Where do these conditions come from? They're because you've taken hemp out of our daily diet or out of the diets of our animals that we're eating. We really just need to recognize that this plant is here, it was put here, and the benefits are great from the plant itself, from the whole plant.
Right.
Not just the decarboxylated, cannabinoids that you're inhaling or ingesting or things like that. You don't have to have that high effect, right? Depending on your symptom or condition, you would benefit potentially from maybe even a higher CBD dose than a THC dose.
Absolutely, right. And it's interesting you say that too. I've spoken with people who've done different studies about testing cannabis people and the symptoms they feel and looking what the benefits are, blah blah. And it's funny to kind of hear some of the reports back where some of the test subjects reported feeling they enjoyed the benefits of the CBD, for instance, but sort of felt like the THC, just that slight intoxication of it, the feeling of being high, that was a negative for them because they just didn't want that feeling. They weren't seeking it out. But they were able to experience the benefits of the CBD part of it. And I just think it's so fascinating. You mentioned the entourage effect before with cannabis, and that I'm constantly fascinated by that because this plant, as you were just saying, it's many multifaceted, and there's a lot of benefits to it. And you can't really even break them apart. There's hundreds of different compounds working together in different cannabis plants, and people over the years have tried to isolate those effects or symptoms from them and remove, let's say, one compound from the hundreds working together, and it seems like they're unable to mimic the desired effect. And it's insinuating that it must work together like an entourage in order to kind of produce the desired effects that people are chasing. No?
Right. And and you can still combine the THC with the CBD. You just change the varying dosages or the amounts of each, to get your desired effect.
Certainly, right.
Also depending upon the type of condition, right? Some conditions would benefit from a tincture or an RSO oil. Some might even benefit better from like a cannabis suppository. Anything that's gut related or, below the gut and below, you're going to get the best benefit from a suppository themselves.
Wow, that is interesting. I honestly never thought about that, but I can totally see the medical benefit of that. It does make a lot of sense.
Plus the upside of that, if you've got some older patients too, right, that really don't want that, that euphoric feeling, you don't get the euphoric feeling when you're using a cannabis suppository.
Nice. Yeah, that's good to know. And as you say, I'm sure that there are people who would probably benefit more from that than other methods of ingesting it.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make sure we get, some ways, if anybody listening is interested and they want to get involved, if they want to explore working with, Compassionate Clinics of America to kind of get themselves set up in one of these states on their medical card, what do you suggest? How can they get started on this? What do you suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. You can start by either, visiting our website, which is, mycompassionateclinic.com, or give us a phone call. And you can give us a phone call at 888-372-0325. Any one of the people that answer the phone, as Donald had mentioned, are compassionate. They understand. They know what they're talking about, and they will guide you through every step.
Yes, and let me say as well, I want to speak to the efficiency of the process as well, because not only was the compassion evident and the care as well and following up, but admittedly, I mean, every step of the way, it didn't feel like anything was redundant. I was not asked, for anything twice. The Zoom call, I got an extra, phone call to make sure that I was ready for it, to consult with the physician. And as soon as that was all over and done, as I mentioned, I got a call back from a nurse going through that, making sure everything was great. And then literally a few hours later, I had my provisional card in the email. And I cannot speak highly enough of the efficiency of the process and like I said, the niceness of everybody involved. I just, really was needing to kind of speak with you, Joe, about what you're doing here, because I think this operation, as I said, can benefit so many people. And I know a lot of people who kind of need the sort of help that you guys are offering right now.
Right. They're out there. The stigma's still around a little bit. Hopefully, within the next few years, it'll start to lighten up a little bit. People don't, like to really talk about cannabis. I don't have a problem. I'll bring it up. I'll talk with anybody about it.
Right, which I appreciate. And believe me, I feel you on that thing. I mean, that's a big part of why I wanted to do the show, too, and why it's called Cannabis Man instead of, Marijuana Buddy, because right. Even the word itself, as I've said in episodes past, it's just baked with all those negative connotations of the reefer madness and the war on drugs. All of that is just right there in the word marijuana. And I think cannabis is more neutral. It doesn't have that baggage, and it also is more encompassing of the multiple products that are available and stuff like that. And I feel as you do. I mean, it can be frustrating to kind of go up against the stigma, 70, 80 years of bad branding, it's tough to go against, but we are seeing in more and more studies come out every week where the approval rating across the country for legalizing is higher and higher. And I think people are starting to get over the Cheech and Chong kind of stereotypes of the decades past. That whole lazy stoner thing, it doesn't really hold water these days, because I think we all know people who are productive and just, having full, well-rounded lives and utilize cannabis for one of 100 different reasons. And it's, oh my God, it's a great thing.
It's made me, a better business person. It's made me a better dad. It's made me a better friend, a better son. Just from not having to deal with the pain and, just that fogginess from, repeated, hits to the head and things like that. It's changed my life. And I want to show as many people as possible, how I can help them change their lives too.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I appreciate what you're doing, and I encourage everybody to check out that website again, mycompassionateclinic.com, and just look around, poke around here, and find some information out and get started if you think you can benefit. Joe Mazza, again, thank you for jumping on. I like to wrap these up by doing these quick hits, kind of some short questions, yes or no, just sort of fun, what do you prefer kind of things. Are you game for this?
Absolutely.
All right, right on. All right, I'll start. First quick hit question is morning bird or night owl? Which are you? Both. Yeah, right on. I bet. I'm sure with the business, and just doing personal stuff, I'm sure you're probably up at all hours of the day.
Yeah, you know what? I tend to get up, relatively early in the morning. Now, I'm not fully functioning that early in the morning, but, but I can go late at night too. So it all depends on what my schedule is. And it kind of will determine if I'm going to be up late or if I have to go to bed early, because I need to get up super early.
Sure, I get you. Yeah, it depends upon the schedule. What you're called for.
I will say that I was predominantly most of my life a night owl.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can relate to that. I think I was too, but yeah, these days it does help to get up early a lot of the time. The second one, cuisine, favorite meal, or if you're like a restaurant, like if it's your birthday or celebrating something, what is what's a place that you definitely want to go hit?
Oh, there is I love like the traditional Wisconsin supper clubs.
Oh, nice.
They have like the relish trays on the table, and you can get a good prime rib or something along those lines. There's a great supper club called Blink Bonnie's up in northern Wisconsin that I always make it a tradition to go to the lake house for my birthday, which is in the end of July. So that's always one of the places that I'll frequent on my birthday repeatedly, because it's you get an old fashioned.
Yep.
And, you get a baked potato, prime rib, and, you're good to go.
I love that. Yeah, I'm also a huge fan of the Wisconsin supper clubs. I feel like they've got some just good old school vibes, nice furniture, good old fashions, and the meat and the kind of hors d'oeuvres that they got there. Always great. I have not been to one that was subpar. They're excellent. Drug of choice, and I know we're just talking about cannabis. We both love that. It's more like, is there a coffee drinker in the morning? Like, what's a daily fix for you? Wine or beer at night, or is cannabis kind of number one?
Yeah, cannabis is number one. Admittedly, I've been doing a lot of research on psilocybin lately.
Yeah.
That's something that I think that compassionate clinics would probably like to get into down the road.
Oh, that's exciting. Again, I understand you're not breaking any news saying it's definitely happening, but that is something that you're exploring as a potential future viability, yeah?
Absolutely.
Wow, that is exciting. There is a lot of cool research coming out about the healing potential of psychedelics. Very cool.
Yes, and we're super excited about it. I think that, this with cannabis and just finding these plants or fungi that grow, naturally,
right.
On this wonderful planet of ours, we've got to use them for their benefits.
Absolutely. I do think that it's human nature to kind of think that we can build a better tool always, that we can make something that's just, that solves our problems. But, it's nice whenever you just kind of discover something that's already out there, that Mother Nature kind of solved the problem perfectly a long time ago, Yeah,
exactly.
Number 4, quick hit, favorite movie or TV show. What's something that you like to watch, go back to, whether it's one of those, feel-good 90s sitcoms or like a movie that anytime you see it come on the TV, you'll leave it on. What's one of those for you?
Oh, wow. You know what? I always seem to watch the Godfather trilogy right around Thanksgiving. That's something that just kind of, it's like a family tradition kind of almost.
Sure, that's a classic.
We sit there and watch all the episodes back to back to back.
Yeah, I think that's a holiday one. I feel like that one is around Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's on a lot, and with good reason. Those are classics. And final quick hit, Joe. Sports. Obviously, you mentioned you played hockey for a long time. Do you watch hockey still, or is there another sport that kind of gets you going? Football, anything? What do you support?
Of course, I still support hockey. We'll play outdoors if I can, but having 3 daughters, I've become enamored with softball.
Oh, yeah.
My daughters play softball.
Fast pitch?
Fast pitch,
yeah.
It's part of our daily life now.
Nice, totally. That's fast pitch is a lot of fun. I have 2 younger sisters, Molly and Kelly, who both played traveling softball for a long time through college, both of them, and going around and watching them, play in tournaments in different in places is just such a blast. Love those games.
It's they're fast paced. You're not sitting around waiting. They move the ball quick. They're throwing the ball fast. My daughters play. They do play travel too as well. They're younger. But yeah, they, every weekend we're at a tournament, 8-12 hours a day.
Right on. Yeah, dude, it's exciting, and it is definitely a fun, way to just kind of spend a day outside and watch great activity, get involved with it. It is fun.
Absolutely. Nothing better.
Cool. Well, yeah. On that note, nothing better than spending a day outside, and also, nothing better than improving your life with something like cannabis. If you feel, if you've ever thought about cannabis medically, that you might benefit from it, check out Compassionate Clinics of America, because Joe and everybody that he's got working with him they're in this for the right reasons. They want to help people, and they have figured out a great way. Speaking at least, definitely from the Illinois side and the rest of the states, that they can help with as well. I definitely encourage everybody to go check out that website and just explore and see if you can't improve your life a little bit. Thanks for everything you're doing, Joe.
Thank you, Don. Really appreciate it.
All right, cool. And hopefully talk to you again in the future.
Would love to.
All right, great. Have a great day.
All right, you as well.
And there you have it, listener. I just want to thank one more time my guest, Joe Mazza, for jumping on the show, sharing his journey and what led him to starting the company and the great work that they're doing there. I want to thank them for helping me get my Illinois medical cannabis card. I'm so thrilled with it. If you end up going through the process, I feel very confident in saying that I think you're going to be more than satisfied with the result. Before I let you go this week, listener, I just had an article I wanted to get to, and so that gives us an opportunity to run an edition of
The Marijuana Logs.
Oh, yeah. It's the Marijuana Logs. It's a play on monologue, I suppose, about cannabis, if you like. And, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I like to mention some articles that come across the path or some themes that I've been noticing of late. And one here, this is an article from Crane's Chicago Business at chicagobusiness.com. I like a lot of the reporting that they do. It's not super in-depth regarding cannabis, certainly, but they do some great business reporting, and there's some pretty good scoops on there. If you have the ability to go there and get a subscription, it's worth it, I think. John Pletz wrote this one. It was published October 10th, and this is the headline is More on the Exodus from the Top at Green Thumb Industries. You may be familiar if you pay attention to Illinois cannabis companies. GTI, Green Thumb Industries, is one of the big players, and their arm of dispensaries are the Rise dispensaries, which I am a big fan of. I've been to the Rise many times in Niles. I am planning a trip to the Rise in Mundelein, which is the only place in Illinois right now where you can buy and smoke. You can hang out. They have a lounge, and you can just treat it like a bar. You can go there, you buy your supply, and then you just hang out, and you can try other products that they have on site there, and it's great. But anyway, this article is not really about the quality of their stores or product. It's about the company at large, and the top lawyer resigned, as well as 3 board members left. A corporate governance expert said it's not a good sign. That's a quote. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole article. Again, I encourage you to go check out chicagobusiness.com and look for this. It's definitely worth the read. But the main point here is that it's not just board members who resigned. The general counsel, Beth Burke, also left. It's according to a Securities and Exchange Commission filing made October 7th. Burke was chief compliance officer at Aon before joining Green Thumb early in 2020. The quote here from the expert they cited at the top, Charles Elson, a corporate governance expert and retired professor of finance at the University of Delaware. His quote, "It's not a good sign when the audit committee and general counsel depart in one fell swoop." GTI did not provide any details on the circumstances around Burke's departure, nor did it respond to a request for comment from Cranes. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of reasons why somebody might depart from a company. There's a lot of reasons why multiple people might depart from a company. And we're not exactly sure what those are right now. But it is definitely something that is, I think, concerning, as this governance expert pointed out, when you see those specific board members and counsel departing simultaneously. In the resignation letter, the 3 board members cited material differences with company management. Whatever that pertains to, whatever it has to do with, there are 4 top-level employees just fled Green Thumb Industries. And it definitely begs the question of what is going on there. and it's something worth paying attention to. I'm going to reach out to some of the people mentioned in this and try and get some of them on the show and see if I can't get a little more insight as to what's happened at GTI. But if you notice anything at any Rise dispensaries, listeners, in terms of drop-off in quality, maybe some rumblings from the bud tenders or anything to that effect, definitely let me know on the show social pages or reach out. Just click that questions or comment link in the show description notes and just leave a note there, because I definitely want to know what's going on out there. And this is the kind of thing that sort of might be indicative of something just concerning. So let's just keep an eye out for it. I certainly will, and we'll look for developments on that and anything that has to do with cannabis here in Illinois and around the country as this canvas continues to change. The land on which we're standing is shifting beneath our very feet every day concerning cannabis legalization in the U.S. A lot of exciting developments. I didn't even get to the announcement that President Biden made last week about pardoning federal crimes. It's very exciting, but what's more exciting for me is what it shows might be coming down the line in terms of descheduling. He talked about asking the Attorney General and the Health and Human Services Secretary of looking into the scheduling process for cannabis, and that suggests that potential rescheduling or even descheduling of cannabis is finally on the way. And I've said from the beginning, listener, that as soon as that is descheduled, that's really going to open some things up here in terms of safe banking, in terms of research, in terms of funding, in terms of a lot. Maybe some interstate workings, some actual federal green light for this whole market that's emerging here. So it's very exciting that I have to say, I mean, I know I've mentioned on the show that I really was kind of discouraged by the lack of any kind of word from the White House about cannabis at all. And I admittedly thought that it wasn't going to come from this president. And I am so happy to be proven wrong. And I think Biden did a really good thing here. And I just hope that more is on the way, because more needs to change. And it's very exciting that we did see that acknowledgement from a sitting president. And he's still got 2 more years. So we'll see what happens. But it's very exciting. And I'm very excited to continue watching this and sharing all these developments with you. And I hope you'll tune in again next week on another episode of the Cannabis Man Podcast. Bye-bye. Cannabis Man is an original production of myself, Don Kleppen. Original theme music by Yusu Kim, a.k.a. Goodson. Other music by Pat Perez, and logo designed by Vorbroker Media. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe, and share whenever you can.